Right, so confidence boost for 14801 on circle. Okay, so the first question, we're going to go down for circumference for the first side. So whenever we're looking at circumference or the edge of the shape, which is perimeter, then we're using the formula to find the circumference of circles. If the circle's in there, you're going to be using the formula circumference is equal to pi times by diameter. So in this case, the circle has a diameter of 2 meters. Therefore, to find the circumference of that, it is pi times by 2, which is 2 pi, which gives us what? Hands up, please. Oliver. 6.28 meters. Okay? Happy with that one? Yes, Nicky. You need to have, for the marks, are as follows. 1 mark for stating the formula. 2 marks for inputting the numbers correctly. So you get some sort of 2 times pi. And then you get the 3rd mark for the right answer rounded and having units of measure.
Yeah, but it's not 3.
Yeah? 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? 1 mark for stating the formula. 2nd mark comes from inputting the numbers incorrectly. 3rd mark comes from the answer and having the units of measure on the end. Yes, Chloe?
If you rounded it, then it would be 3, wouldn't it? Because it's 8 before 2.
If it was to 1 decimal place, it'd be 6.3. Yes. But it's to 2 decimal places. I want the answer to 2 decimal places. Okay? I said that at the start. Right. We're continuing down here. The circumference of the circle is 100 millimeters. What is the diameter? Okay? We use the same formula because we're using circumference. Circumference is equal to pi times by diameter. Okay? This time we're given the circumference, which is 100 millimeters. But we want to find the diameter. So normally we times the diameter by pi to get the circumference. So if we wanted to find the circumference, we've got to do the opposite. We've got to do what, Dan?
You divide the circumference by pi.
You divide the circumference by pi in order to get diameter. That comes across saying its diameter is equal to 100 divided by pi, which gives us what? Jaden. 31.83. And that is millimeters. Okay, let me just double check that that is the correct rounding. So 100 divided by pi is correct at 31.83 millimeters. Okay, the 4 marks there, 1 for stating that formula, 2 for inputting the numbers, 3 for rearranging it correctly, and the 4th for the answer and the units of measure. Okay? Right, next one. Find the perimeter of the semicircle. So that means the whole outside of the shape. The way we do that, we're working with the outside of the shape, so we're going to be using the circumference. So its circumference is equal to pi times by diameter. Okay, that would give us the circumference of a full circle. We've only got a semicircle, which is half a full circle. So let's pretend, as we were saying, we've got circumference equal to pi times diameter. That would give us a whole circle, but we only want half the circle. So, first of all, let's pretend it is a full circle. So it's like that. And we can just use that whole thing. So circumference is equal to pi times by 10, which I'm going to just leave as 10 pi for now. Okay? Because I don't want to round it, I'll round it at the end. Right, from there, if we half that, it will give us half the circumference, which is that bit there. So if we divide that by 2, so 10 pi divided by 2, that gives you 5 pi, or whatever decimal you've got. Okay, I'm just going to leave it as 5 pi for now. But that's not the whole perimeter of the shape. What else have we got, Dan?
You've got to add the diameter.
You've got to add this bit here, which is the diameter, so you've got to add 10 onto it. So it's 5 pi plus 10, which gives us what? Somebody... Erin.
25.71.
25.71, let's check that. 5 pi plus 10. Yeah, 25.71 rounded correctly. That is 4 marks. Says on the sheet. It's got to be centimetres, that. Okay?
Yeah.
So 4 marks for that question. Next one is find the perimeter of the ice hockey ring. So perimeter is the outside of the shape. This shape is made up of 2 semicircles and a rectangle. We need to find the outside of the shape. So, two ways you could do it. First of all, do what we've just done then, find the two semicircles, then add those on. Or, we could, if there's two semicircles, we put them together and make a full circle. So let's just find this outside of a full circle if those are added together. So circumference is equal to pi times diameter. If those two circles are pushed together, what's the diameter of that? Now, 30 meters. So so that's pi times by 30, which I'm going to leave as 30 pi for now. Okay. So that gives us this part of the shape. It gives us that bit and that bit, because we pushed those two semicircles together and done the full circle. Then we've got two other bits we need to add on. What are they? Sam, what are the bits we need to find the outside of that shape? We found these bits, we need to find the outside of the whole shape. What's missing? Do you want to help him out, is it? Just these bits here. That bit of the ice ring. So that's 50 and that's 50. So we add 100 on there, so it's 30 pi plus 100. 30 pi plus 100 gives us 194.25 if rounded correctly to two decimal places, and that is meters. Okay, that's the first half of that. Yes, Charlotte?
I don't know how I've done it, but I've got all answers. I don't know how I've done it.
That's fine, you got the marks.
Yeah, but I've only got the answer.
Okay, you got the answer right. Get the marks, okay? You've thought about it in your head and you've got to answer, just give yourself the marks for now. But you drop the mark because you haven't put the units of measure on the end, have you? Okay? Right, on this side, we're looking at area now. So when working with area, the formula we're going to use is area is equal to pi r squared. So the first one is a very simple question. Find the area of the circle. So area is equal to pi r squared. What's the radius in this case? Phoebe? 7. So 7 millimeters. Pi times by 7 squared. That is 49 pi, which is 153.93. And that is millimeters squared, because of its area. Okay? All three marks must have the formula correct working, and then the answer with the correct units of measure on. Right. Next stage, it says I can find the radius given the area. So I'm giving you the area this time, you need to find the radius. So we still use the formula we talked about. Area is equal to pi r squared. But this time we're given the area, which is 200, and we need to find the radius. So like we did on the circumference, we've got to do the opposite to the area in order to find the radius. So the opposite of that, what we're doing to r is we're timesing by pi and we're square rooting. So we need to divide by pi and then square root the answer. So r is equal to 200 divided by pi, and that's square rooted. So the way I would put in the calculator on these is 200 divided by pi gives us 63.66. Then if we press the square root button, the green button, and then click equals, where we get the and, square root and, it gives us 7.98. And that's just meters, okay, this time, because you're only working in a length. Okay? That's your 4 marks on there. Make sure you've got all that down. Yes, Charlotte?
What does square root mean?
So, you know when you square something, you do 5 times 5 is 25.
Yeah.
The square root of 25 is what times by itself gets you to 25. So 5 is a square root of 25. Okay? We can focus on that. We'll do some work on that if you want to come after school. We can look at square rooting. Alright? I can find the area of a semicircle. Go on now, are you confident?
I just forgot to use a square rooting on it and then divide that.
So you get 1 mark then,
Yeah.
if you've done the first bit of it, okay? Finding the area of a semicircle. If we find the area of a full circle, its area is equal to pi r squared. What we're going to do for that when we find the area of a full circle? Chloe? Divide it by 2. So, the diameter in this case is 11 centimetres. But what do we need? Half of that, because we want the radius. So, diameter equals 11, so the radius is equal to 5.5. So, the area of the semicircle is pi times by 5.5 squared. Pi times 5.5 squared, so 5.5 squared is 30.25, times that by pi, gives us 97 point something, okay? 95 point something, sorry. So it's 95 point blah 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 blah. We divide that by 2 because we only want a semicircle. So divide that by 2, we get 47.52 rounded to correct decimal place. That is centimetres squared. Okay? We're moving on to the last question now, which is the hardest question. So you've got there, for example, you have got 3 of the marks, which is just not then divided by 2. Right, last question is where you've got to interpret. You've got to adapt. You've got to adapt your skills into a worded question. This is why it's slightly harder and why it's a C+/B minus, because you need to apply your skill to a situation. So the diagram shows a circle drawn inside of a square. The circle has a radius of 6 centimetres. The square has a side length of 12 centimetres. Work out the area of the shaded part of the circle. Okay, so we want this bit here. In order to find this bit, we need to use the area of the square and the area of the rectangle. So, find the area of the square. So step 1. Area of the square is equal to what? How do we find it, Ethan? Height times base. The height is, the base is, so it's 12 times 12 or 12 squared, which is 144 centimetres squared. Step 2. Find the area of the circle. It's equal to pi r squared, which is equal to, the radius is 6, so it's just pi times by 6 squared, which is equal to 36 pi. Okay, so we have the area of the circle and the area of the square. What's the next step? Oliver?
We take the area of the circle away from the area of the square.
Good. If we take the area of the circle away from the area of the square, we've got these 4 little sections here. So if we do that, step 3, we do 144, take away 36 pi, that gives us, divided by 144, take away 36 pi, gives us 30.9. What we've got to do now? What's the final step? That gives us this, and this. Let's go with Emily. You haven't spoke yet.
Do you divide it by 4?
Divide by 4 because there's 4 of them. We only want 1 of them. Final step is divide by 4. So answer divided by 4 gives us 7.73 to 2 decimal places, and that is centimetres squared. Okay?
How many is that?
Yeah, I know you did it differently. So